Liam never dreamed he would stand inside a palace made of light. The celestial palace floated above the blue clouds of planet Valaris, capital of the Ylthari Empire, the most advanced civilization known to the stars. He was not a warrior, not a commander, not even a famous scientist. He was just a communications technician from Earth. His job back home was to fix signal towers and keep messages flowing between colonies. But when Earth received an invitation to send a delegation to the Galactic Council, someone had to go to manage the systems and handle the translation equipment. Liam volunteered without thinking. He expected to work quietly in the background. He expected no one to notice him. He was wrong. The day of the grand ceremony arrived. Every species in the galaxy was present. Creatures with silver skin, floating beings made of light, and the tall, elegant Ylthari, known for their glowing eyes and calm, perfect movements. The event was being broadcast across 1,000 worlds. It was the first time humans were allowed to attend such a gathering. Liam stood near the back, adjusting a small translator device on his wrist. His job was to make sure the human delegation's communication worked smoothly. The others around him whispered in awe at the shining halls, walls that shimmered like glass and moved as if alive. Music, unlike anything Earth had ever known, filled the air. At the center of the grand hall stood 3 figures on a raised platform. They were the royal family of Valaris, the king, the queen, and their daughter. Princess Arya was known across the empire as the Silver Voice. She was young for her kind, maybe equal to a human in her early 20s. Her skin glowed faintly and her long hair looked like liquid starlight. Yet her expression was calm, cold, and distant, as if emotion itself was something she had studied but never felt. The ceremony began with speeches in 12 languages. The galactic anthem played, and one by one delegates were introduced. When it was time for the humans to step forward, their ambassador gave a short message of peace and cooperation. Liam stayed a few steps behind, quiet and respectful, holding the data tablet for his superior. Everything went smoothly, until the translator device suddenly glitched. A soft hum turned into a sharp crack. Lights flickered. The voices around him turned to static. The ambassador froze mid-sentence. Liam's hands moved on instinct. He pulled open a small panel and began rerouting the power manually. Sweat rolled down his temple as he reconnected the lines. The crowd stared. In less than 30 seconds, the system restarted. The translator blinked green. The human ambassador's voice returned, clear and steady. The hall filled with relieved murmurs. It was a small thing for Liam, just another quick repair. But to the Ylthari, who viewed technology as sacred and untouchable, what he had done seemed impossible. Their own engineers would have spent hours diagnosing the issue through careful analysis. A human had just touched the sacred machine and made it work. The king raised an eyebrow. The queen exchanged a curious glance with her daughter. And for the first time, the princess's eyes, silver with a faint blue glow, fell upon the human technician. Liam felt her gaze before he saw it. It was like standing in sunlight after a long night. He looked up, unsure if he was allowed to meet her eyes. Their gazes locked for barely a second, but it was enough. The ceremony continued, but the princess didn't look away. Liam tried to focus on his work, but he could feel her presence, like a gentle pressure against his thoughts. When the final song ended, the king stood to address the hall. "Today marks a new era of unity," he declared. "Even those from distant worlds stand together in the light of peace." As the applause echoed, the princess suddenly took a step forward. Her voice, soft yet commanding, cut through the crowd. "I want him." The entire hall went silent. Every head turned. Even the king froze mid-sentence. Liam blinked, unsure if he heard correctly. "Pardon?" the human ambassador stammered, glancing at her. The princess pointed directly at Liam. "The human. The one who repaired the system. I want him." The words were simple, but in the Ylthari court they carried enormous meaning. A royal's public declaration was not to be ignored or taken lightly. The king's eyes narrowed slightly. "Arya, my daughter, what do you mean by this?" "I wish to learn about the humans," she replied calmly. "That one in particular." His instinct, his decision-making, it was not based on calculation, but something else. Liam stood frozen, unsure whether to bow, speak, or run. Around him, nobles whispered fiercely. Some looked insulted, others intrigued. The queen rose gracefully. Princess, humans are young among the stars. Their ways are still unpredictable. Exactly, Arya said, her tone firm. That is why I want to understand. Liam felt his mouth go dry. The ambassador turned to him, whispering, "Just stay calm. Whatever happens, be respectful." Guards approached from the side, their armor shining with blue energy. Liam's heart pounded as one of them gestured for him to step forward. He obeyed, trying to keep his movement steady. As he reached the royal platform, he felt hundreds of eyes watching him. The king studied him like a scientist examining a strange new specimen. The queen looked curious but not unkind. The princess, however, looked directly at him with a quiet intensity. "What is your name, human?" the king asked. "Liam, sir. Liam Doran. You are a technician?" "Yes, your majesty. Just a communication tech. Nothing more." "Yet you acted without hesitation when the system failed. You could have damaged it further." "I just did what I was trained to do," Liam replied honestly. "If something breaks, you fix it. That's what we humans do." The princess tilted her head slightly, her glowing eyes reflecting him like mirrors. "Without fear?" He gave a nervous half-smile. "Oh, I was afraid, Your Highness. I just didn't have time to think about it." A soft murmur passed through the audience. The king seemed almost amused. "A simple answer, but perhaps a wise one," he said. The princess turned to her parents. "I still wish for him to stay," she said again, more softly but with the same conviction. "Only for a time. I want to study his behavior, his decisions. He will be my guest." The word guest echoed through the chamber. The queen hesitated. "If you insist, my daughter. But you must take responsibility for his presence here." "I will." And that was how it began. Liam was escorted to private quarters within the palace. A place of floating lights, self-moving walls, and soft silver air. Everything looked alive, yet perfectly still. He sat on the edge of his new bed, staring at the glowing symbols on the walls, trying to understand what had just happened. One moment, he was a background worker from Earth. The next, an alien princess had publicly declared she wanted him. He couldn't decide whether to feel honored or terrified. Later that night, a gentle knock came at his door. It slid open without sound. Standing there was Princess Arya herself, no guards, no servants. She looked curious, her expression softer than before. "Do all humans act without thinking?" she asked. Liam blinked. "Not all. Some of us overthink everything, and you?" "You did not. I guess I just wanted to help," he said. The princess nodded slowly. "Interesting. Your kind speaks of helping as if it costs nothing, yet you risked failure, even punishment, for a system that was not yours to fix." Liam didn't know what to say. "Maybe that's just how we are. We try." For a moment, the princess seemed thoughtful. Then she said quietly, "Perhaps that is why I wanted you." Before he could reply, she turned and left, her light footsteps fading down the corridor. Liam sat in silence. Outside, the stars of Valaris shone brighter than any he had ever seen. He had no idea what tomorrow would bring, but deep down he knew this was only the beginning. And somewhere beyond fear and confusion, a strange feeling of wonder began to grow. The next morning, the celestial palace was not calm anymore. The royal halls, usually filled with soft music and quiet grace, now buzzed with whispers. Everywhere Liam walked, people turned to look. Some stared with curiosity, some with clear disapproval. The news had spread across Valaris faster than light. The princess of the Elthari chose a human. For the Elthari nobles, it was unthinkable. Humans were new to the galaxy, simple beings from a distant blue world barely known for 100 years. They were seen as emotional, reckless, and fragile. To them, the princess's choice was not only strange, it was almost scandalous. But Princess Arya didn't care about the whispers. She had made her decision before the entire council. Her word, once spoken, could not be easily withdrawn. Liam, meanwhile, was lost in confusion. He sat on the edge of his new bed, staring at the floating lights that decorated his room. Everything around him was too clean, too bright, and far too silent. He didn't understand why the princess wanted him here. He was just a technician, a man who fixed machines, not someone fit to stand beside royalty. The door opened softly, and Kale, one of the palace attendants, entered. He was tall, dressed in silver robes with calm but unreadable eyes. "The princess requests your presence," Kale said politely. Liam stood up at once. "Now?" "Yes." She is waiting in the Garden of Voices. The Garden of Voices was unlike any place Liam had ever seen. It floated on a transparent platform above the palace, filled with glowing flowers that sang soft notes when touched by wind. Streams of light replaced water, and the air smelled faintly of crystal dust. Princess Arya stood at the center, her long, silver gown shimmering like a river of stars. She turned when she heard his footsteps. "Good morning, human Liam," she said. "Just Liam is fine, Your Highness," he replied awkwardly. She tilted her head, studying him. "You do not use formal titles even when speaking to a royal?" "In my world, we usually don't unless it's a very serious occasion," he said. Arya's lips curved slightly, not quite a smile, but something close. "Interesting. You speak so casually yet with respect. It is refreshing." Liam wasn't sure how to respond. He looked at the glowing flowers. "This place is beautiful," he said honestly. "The garden listens," she said. "Every sound you make leaves a memory in the air. When you speak, the garden remembers your tone." He blinked. "You mean it records voices?" "In a way. It remembers emotion, not words." There was silence between them for a moment. Then Arya said quietly, "You wonder why I chose you?" Liam hesitated. "Yes, Your Highness. I still don't understand." She looked at the horizon where the clouds shimmered gold. "Because you acted without calculation? You risked failure not for gain, but because you felt it was right. My people have forgotten how to do that. We think before we feel. But you—" She turned to face him. "You felt before you thought. That is something rare." Liam rubbed the back of his neck. "On Earth we call that being reckless. And yet it saved the ceremony." He laughed softly. "I guess it did." For the first time, the princess truly smiled. "Perhaps I chose wisely." But not everyone agreed. While they talked in the garden, a council of nobles met in the lower chambers of the palace. Their robes shimmered like steel, their faces cold. The leader, Lord Varen, spoke first. "This is a disgrace. A human has no place near the royal bloodline." "The princess has made her choice," another replied. "She is young, emotional, influenced by curiosity. We cannot allow a primitive creature to remain inside the palace. We should advise the king to send the human back to Earth. And if he refuses," Varen's eyes darkened, "then we will find another way." That evening, Liam was escorted to a grand dining hall. The king, queen, and princess sat at one end of a long table made of transparent crystal. He felt small, sitting across from beings who looked like walking stars. The king spoke first. "Human Liam, you must understand that your presence here is unusual." "Yes, Your Majesty," Liam said, trying not to sound nervous. "Many in the court question it," the queen added, "but my daughter insists there is value in observing human behavior." Liam nodded slowly. "If my being here helps, then I'll cooperate in any way I can." The king studied him. "Tell me, human, what do your people value most?" Liam thought for a moment. "Hope," he said. "Even when things go wrong, we keep hoping they'll get better. That's what keeps us moving forward." The queen's expression softened slightly. "Hope," she repeated. A simple word for something powerful. Arya looked proud for a moment, as if his answer had proven her point. Dinner passed quietly after that. Liam spoke little, afraid of saying something foolish. When it ended, the king dismissed him with a nod. But as he left, he heard soft voices behind him, the kind that made his heart sink. "The court grows restless," the queen said quietly. "I know," the king replied. "But perhaps the boy's presence will teach them something." Days turned into weeks. Liam's time in the palace became a strange routine. Each morning, he met Princess Arya in the garden or library. She asked endless questions about Earth's history, about emotions, about dreams. "Humans dream while asleep," she said one day, fascinated. "We do not. We rest our minds but do not imagine." "That's sad," Liam said softly. "Dreams are like small adventures every night." She looked thoughtful. "Perhaps that is why you live with such emotion. You carry stories even while you sleep." At times, Liam forgot she was a princess. Her curiosity made her seem almost human, except for her glowing eyes, which reflected light like a mirror. But outside their quiet lessons, tension grew. Some nobles ignored him entirely. Others whispered insults when he passed. One afternoon, while crossing the hall, he heard two attendants talking. "The princess spends hours with the human," one said bitterly. "She says it's for study," the other replied. "But what if she begins to feel something?" Impossible. Hailthari do not feel like humans. Liam walked away quickly, pretending he hadn't heard, but their words stayed in his mind. One evening, as the twin moons of Valaris rose, Liam found himself summoned again, this time to the Hall of Unity, where a crowd had gathered. He saw the king on his throne, the queen beside him and the princess standing near the edge of the dais. Around them, nobles filled the hall, their expressions sharp and cold. "Human Liam," the king said, "you have been a guest of this palace for several cycles now. Some among us believe your presence here disturbs the balance." Liam felt the air grow heavy. "Your Majesty, I meant no harm." The king raised a hand. "I know. You have shown respect and restraint. But this decision is not mine alone." Lord Varen stepped forward. "With respect, Your Majesty, the human's behavior may influence the princess in ways we do not understand. We cannot risk instability in our royal bloodline for the sake of curiosity." The hall filled with murmurs of agreement. Arya stepped forward, her voice calm but firm. "Enough, this is not about bloodline or danger. You fear what you cannot control." Varen bowed slightly. "Your Highness, we only seek to protect you, by silencing what you do not understand." She replied sharply. "He is not a threat. He is a lesson. You see him as lesser, yet he shows courage, heart, and instinct none of us possess." The king's expression turned unreadable. "You defend him strongly, my daughter." "Because he deserves to be defended," she said. The silence that followed felt endless. Finally, the king spoke. "Very well. The human will remain under one condition. He must prove that his heart, his courage, and his wisdom are worthy of trust. A trial will be held." Liam's heart pounded. "A trial?" "Yes," the king said gravely. 3 challenges. If you succeed, you will stay as an honored guest. If you fail, you will be returned to your world." Arya looked at her father, then at Liam. "He will succeed," she said softly, "because humans never stop trying." Liam swallowed hard. The hall watched him in silence. He bowed slightly. "Then I'll try my best, Your Majesty." And in that moment, the court that once laughed at him fell silent, not because of fear, but because they saw something rare, a human, standing tall before kings and stars, ready to prove what it meant to be one of them. The next day began with silence. The royal court had decided Liam, the human from Earth, must prove his worth through the 3 trials, tests of wisdom, courage, and heart. To the Aelthari, these trials were sacred traditions. They believed that only those who showed balance between logic and compassion could be trusted near the royal family. Most who faced the trials were trained nobles. Liam was just a technician. When he heard the news, he almost laughed in disbelief. "I fix machines," he said quietly to Kale, the palace attendant. "I don't pass ancient alien trials." Kale looked at him calmly. "The princess believes you can." "That belief carries weight in this palace," Liam sighed. "Yeah, but belief won't help me if I fail." Kale's silver eyes softened a little. "Sometimes belief is what makes the difference." The first trial. The trial of wisdom. The first trial took place in the Hall of Echoes, a vast room filled with floating crystals. Each crystal glowed faintly and produced a soft hum. The king, queen, and princess watched from a high platform. Dozens of nobles stood behind them, whispering quietly. An elder priest of the Aelthari spoke, his voice echoing through the chamber. "Human Liam, this trial is not of strength but of mind. The crystals hold questions, each one shaped by logic and truth. You must answer correctly 3 times to pass. Choose carefully." Liam nodded, though his heart beat fast. A large crystal floated toward him and projected a question in blue light. "If all paths lead to darkness, which path do you take?" He frowned, thinking. It sounded like a riddle. After a moment, he answered, "I'd take the one that still lets me move forward. Even if it's dark, I'd rather keep going than stop." The crystal glowed brighter, a soft musical note filling the hall. The priest nodded slowly. "Correct." A second crystal rose. "What has no form, no weight, but can move mountains?" Liam smiled faintly. "Hope," he said without hesitation. The crystal shimmered again. The nobles murmured. The priest's expression grew thoughtful. A final crystal floated before him. This one pulsed faster, as if impatient. When logic fails and truth hides, what remains? Liam looked up at the princess. She met his eyes, her expression calm but warm. He said softly, Heart. It's what stays when everything else falls apart. The crystal turned gold, filling the hall with light. The priest raised his hand. The human has passed the trial of wisdom. The hall erupted in soft applause. The king's face showed surprise, and even the queen looked impressed. But the brightest expression came from Arya, whose eyes shone like morning stars. Liam breathed out slowly. One trial done. 2 more to go, the second trial. The trial of courage. The next morning came too soon. Liam hardly slept, but there was no time to rest. Kale led him to a massive chamber filled with moving walls and energy gates. This trial, Kale explained quietly, tests your reaction to fear. You must reach the center of the maze before the energy storm closes it. If you hesitate too long, the storm will consume the path. Liam stared at the glowing maze. So basically, run and hope I don't get fried? Kale actually smiled. In simple words, yes. The princess stood at the observation deck watching quietly. As the signal sounded, Liam ran forward. The walls shifted around him like living metal, rearranging every few seconds. Blue sparks danced across the floor. Halfway through, the lights dimmed and a low hum filled the air. The storm had begun. Lightning-like energy bolts struck near him. Liam ducked, jumped, and rolled across the glowing floor. Every sound echoed through the chamber, amplified by his heartbeat. He could have turned back. No one would have blamed him. But he remembered what Arya had told him in the garden. You acted without fear because you felt it was right. He kept moving. The path closed behind him. Walls of energy sealed off every exit except one, straight ahead. His lungs burned, his legs screamed, but he didn't stop. At the final gate, a tall beam of blue light blocked his way. For a second, he hesitated. The voice of the priest echoed from above. Only those who trust their instincts may pass. Liam took a deep breath. Instinct, huh? Here goes nothing. He jumped through the light, the crowd gasped. For a moment, his body disappeared completely. Then, to everyone's shock, he emerged safely on the other side, burned, exhausted, but alive. The king stood from his throne, his voice booming. Few have completed that test on their first attempt. Liam looked up weakly. Guess I just got lucky. The princess smiled faintly. Luck, she said softly. Or courage. The third trial. The trial of heart, the final test, was the most mysterious. No one told Liam what to expect. They only said it would take place in the Chamber of Reflections, a room that showed one's true nature. When he entered, he found himself alone. The chamber was empty, just mirrors stretching endlessly around him. The air shimmered and his reflection began to move on its own. Then it spoke. Why are you here, human? Liam blinked. Because I have to prove I deserve to stay. Do you? The reflection asked. You could go home. Earth is waiting. You owe nothing to these people. Liam frowned. Maybe not. But they gave me a chance. The princess? She believes in me. I can't walk away from that. The reflection smiled bitterly. You're lying to yourself. You want to impress her? Liam looked down for a moment, then met his own eyes again. Maybe I do. But not because she's a princess. Because she's the first person who saw something in me I didn't see in myself. The mirrors around him flickered. The reflection's expression softened. Then you have found your truth. Light filled the room, warm and soft. The voice of the king echoed through the hall outside. The human has passed the trial of heart. When Liam stepped out, the hall erupted with sound. The nobles who once doubted him now stood in quiet respect. Even Lord Varen, who had been his loudest critic, bowed his head slightly. Arya walked toward him, her silver gown shining under the hall's light. You did it, she said softly. He smiled, exhausted. Barely. Barely is still enough, she said, and for the first time her hand touched his arm, a light, almost hesitant gesture. You proved something they had forgotten, that heart can guide even when logic cannot. Liam felt a warmth spread through him that had nothing to do with victory. The king rose from his throne. Human Liam, he said, you have faced the trials of the Althari and succeeded. You stand not as a servant nor as a lesser being, but as one of honor. From this day forward you are welcome in this palace. The hall echoed with applause. Liam bowed deeply. Thank you, your majesty. Arya's eyes shone brighter than ever. That night later, when the celebrations ended and the halls grew quiet, Liam sat by a window overlooking the shining city below. The stars of Valaris glimmered like silver dust. He thought of home, of Earth's blue skies and noisy streets. He missed it, but he also felt something new here. Purpose. A soft sound made him turn. Princess Arya stood in the doorway, her expression gentle. "You should rest," she said. "I can't," he admitted. "Too much happened today." She stepped closer. "When I first saw you, I did not understand what I wanted. I thought I was curious about a human's behavior. Now I realize it was something deeper." Liam looked at her quietly. "What was it?" She hesitated, her silver eyes reflecting the stars outside. "You remind me of something my people lost long ago. The spark that makes life unpredictable and beautiful." He smiled faintly. "The human spark?" "Yes." They stood in silence, the sound of distant music drifting through the air. For a moment, the differences between them, human and Aelthari, logic and emotion, seemed to fade. Finally, Arya said softly, "Sleep well, Liam of Earth. Tomorrow the court will honor you. But tonight remember this, you have already changed us." As she left, the lights dimmed. Liam leaned against the window, watching the stars until his eyes grew heavy. He didn't know what would come next, only that something had begun between two worlds, something fragile but bright. And in that endless sky, one small human spark now burned brighter than ever before. The morning after his victories in the 3 trials, Liam woke to a pale silvery light filtering through the windows of his quarters. The celestial palace was quiet, almost peaceful, as if the walls themselves were holding their breath. He had passed the trials, but he sensed something more awaited him. As he walked through the grand corridors, Kale appeared beside him, calm and silent as always. "The king has summoned you," Kale said simply. "This trial is different from the others. It is the trial of worth." Liam paused. "Worth? Haven't I proven myself enough?" Kale's eyes were gentle but firm. "This trial is not about skill or courage alone. It is about whether you belong among us, not just for your survival, but for your place in our society. You will be judged by your actions, your heart, and your judgment. Only then will the Empire decide." Liam swallowed hard. He felt the weight of the words. It wasn't a test of strength or intelligence. It was a test of himself. The Palace Council, the trial of worth, began in the council chamber, a vast circular room with a translucent floor that revealed the city below. The king, queen, and Princess Arya presided from a high dais. Surrounding them were the Empire's most respected leaders, each tall, shining, and perfectly poised. "Human Liam," the king said, his voice echoing through the chamber. "You have faced trials of wisdom, courage, and heart. But the Empire cannot decide your place based on these alone. You must demonstrate your ability to act for the good of all, even when the outcome is uncertain." The queen added, "You will face 3 challenges, each designed to reveal your character. Remember, human, you are not judged for strength alone, but for spirit, kindness, and leadership." Liam nodded, trying to keep his fear in check. Princess Arya stepped forward, her voice soft but steady. "I believe in you. The path ahead is not easy, but neither is anything worth achieving. Remember what makes humans remarkable. You adapt, you endure, and you care even when it is difficult." He felt a warmth in her words, but also the pressure of their meaning. He was no longer just a visitor. He was being asked to prove that humanity itself had value among the stars. Challenge 1. The Starship Dilemma. Liam was guided to a simulation chamber. The room glowed with holographic displays of a starship caught in a gravitational storm near a collapsing star. Crew members, simulated beings, called for help as energy surges threatened to tear the vessel apart. "You must save the ship," Kyle explained. "Do not worry about perfection. Focus on the choices you make." Liam studied the hologram. Every route seemed dangerous. If he rerouted power to stabilize one part of the ship, another system would fail. If he tried to save everyone at once, the ship might be lost entirely. He took a deep breath. "Okay, think like a human. Do what's right, not what's easiest." He began rerouting power manually, calculating risks in real time. A holographic crew member screamed, "The engine core is overloading!" Liam worked quickly. He diverted energy, repaired the virtual systems, and sacrificed one section of the cargo bay to save the lives of the crew. The simulation ended. The chamber's lights dimmed. A soft voice spoke from the dais. "You chose to protect life even at the cost of material loss. That is the mark of true wisdom." Liam exhaled. The simulation had been exhausting, but he had passed. More importantly, he realized that his choices mattered beyond himself. Challenge 2. The diplomatic quandary next. Liam was brought to a room filled with holograms of alien delegates from various worlds. Two factions argued over the rights to a resource that could feed thousands but risked upsetting the balance of the galaxy. Resolve the conflict, Kale instructed. Your solution must prevent violence while honoring fairness. Liam studied the holographic maps, listening to the delegates' concerns. Every choice had consequences. He could favor one side, but it would anger the other. He could refuse, but that would prolong suffering. He remembered his life on Earth, where compromise, understanding, and honesty often solved more problems than force. I will propose shared access, Liam said aloud. Both sides will have equal rights, but usage will be monitored to prevent exploitation. Each group will rotate leadership to maintain fairness. The holograms paused, then nodded in agreement. The chamber's lights shifted from blue to green, signaling success. Princess Arya watched him quietly from the observation deck. A smile touched her lips. You think not as one person, but as many, she whispered. Liam felt a subtle pride. For the first time, he understood that being human meant seeing beyond oneself. Challenge 3. The choice of sacrifice. The final trial was not a simulation. Liam was led to a platform above the city. Below him, holographic projections of the palace and citizens shimmered in golden light. Kyle's voice was calm. A catastrophic event is coming. You can save the palace and the people, but you may not survive. You may survive, but some lives may be lost. The choice is yours. Liam stared at the holographic crowd below. Every face looked real. He knew instinctively what he must do. He stepped forward. I can't hesitate, he muttered to himself. He rerouted energy fields, adjusted structural supports, and stabilized the palace's orbit. Sparks flew around him, but he kept going. Every adjustment brought him closer to safety, yet exhaustion gnawed at him. Finally, the system stabilized. The city and palace below remained intact. Liam fell to his knees, panting, sweat running down his face. He had risked everything, and it had worked. The king's voice filled the chamber. The human has demonstrated courage, wisdom, and compassion in equal measure. He has shown us what it means to be worthy of trust. The queen's voice added, You have proven your value not just through skill, but through heart. Liam looked up, stunned. His chest ached from relief and fatigue, but most of all he felt something deeper, a sense of belonging he had never known before. The Empire's acceptance. When Liam returned to the main hall, nobles who had doubted him now bowed in respect. Whispers of admiration replaced scorn. Lord Varen, who had been his harshest critic, stepped forward. Human Liam, you have shown qualities we did not expect. Your courage and judgment honor your species. Liam nodded politely. Thank you, Lord Varen. I only did what I believed was right. The princess approached him quietly, her eyes soft. I told them you were remarkable, she said. I knew it from the moment I saw you. Liam smiled faintly. I guess it wasn't just me. You gave me the chance. She placed a delicate hand on his shoulder. And you proved that humans are more than we imagined. That spark inside you, it shines brighter than any technology, any calculation, any law. For the first time, Liam felt truly seen. Not as a visitor, not as a technician, not as a human to be studied, but as someone whose heart, courage, and judgment mattered. The king's voice rang from the dais. Liam of Earth, you have passed the trial of worth. From this day you are recognized not as an outsider, but as an honored guest of the Empire. Your presence enriches us. The hall erupted with applause. Liam bowed deeply, feeling a mix of humility, pride, and wonder. A quiet moment. That night Liam returned to his quarters, exhausted but exhilarated. The palace lights shimmered softly around him. He thought of home, of Earth's familiar skies, but he also felt a new connection to this distant world, to a species he had once thought unrelatable. A soft knock came at the door. Princess Arya entered, silent as ever. She carried a small crystal that glowed faintly. This is for you, she said. A gift to remind you of your courage today. Liam took it carefully. It's beautiful. Thank you, she smiled. Do you know what it represents? He shook his head. Balance, she said. between heart and mind, action and thought, human and Aelthari. You have shown it in ways no one expected. That is why you are special. Liam felt warmth spread through him. I don't know if I deserve such words, he admitted. You do, she said simply. Because you acted when it mattered, and because you care when it is hard. That is what makes a human extraordinary. For a long moment they stood in silence. Then Arya left quietly, leaving Liam alone with the glowing crystal and the soft hum of the palace. He held it close, feeling the weight of the trials, the lessons learned, and the bond that had begun to form, not just with the princess, but with a civilization that had once seemed beyond reach. For the first time, Liam truly understood. Humanity, in its heart, courage, and spirit, had earned a place among the stars. The morning of the final ceremony arrived with a soft glow over the celestial palace. The air above Velaris shimmered like silver, reflecting the excitement and tension in the hearts of everyone present. Today the Empire would witness not only a human's journey, but also the choice of a princess who had dared to see beyond her people's expectations. Liam walked through the corridors, his steps measured. After weeks of trials, he felt stronger, but not just in body. His mind had grown sharper, his heart steadier. The lessons of courage, wisdom, and compassion were now part of him. He was no longer just a technician from Earth. He was a symbol, a bridge between two worlds. Kale accompanied him silently, as always. The council awaits, he said. They will observe your final moment. Remember what you have learned. Liam nodded. I'll try my best. Kale's silver eyes reflected a faint glow. You have already exceeded expectations. The council assembles. When Liam entered the Grand Council Hall, it took his breath away. Hundreds of nobles, leaders, and representatives from other worlds filled the immense chamber. The floor shimmered with light, and floating platforms displayed the stars of the galaxy. At the head of the hall sat the king and queen, regal and composed. Princess Arya stood beside them, her silver gown catching the light, her eyes shining brighter than ever. Liam's heart pounded. This was the moment that would determine his place among the stars. The king's voice echoed through the hall. Today, we decide whether humanity, represented by this young man, is worthy to stand among the honored beings of the Empire. The queen added, The trials have been completed. The council has observed his wisdom, courage, and heart. Now we shall hear the voice of the princess, who has chosen to speak for herself. Arya stepped forward, her gaze locked on Liam. The hall fell silent. I have seen many beings in this galaxy, she began, her voice clear and steady. Some are strong, some are intelligent, some follow rules without question, but few possess a spark that cannot be measured or calculated. This human, this Liam, has shown a spark that no Aelthari can create. He acts with courage when fear is present, with wisdom when choices are uncertain, and with heart when logic fails. I wish him to remain by my side, not as a servant, not as a subject, but as someone who teaches us what it means to be alive. The words hung in the air. A quiet murmur passed through the nobles, some in awe, some in disbelief. The king's decision. The king studied Liam, his eyes calm but penetrating. You have heard the princess. This is unprecedented. Never before has an Aelthari chosen a being so different. He paused, then continued. Liam of Earth, you have faced trials designed for our most esteemed citizens. You have passed not by power or status, but by your choices and spirit. The Empire recognizes your worth. You shall remain here honored among us as a representative of humanity. The hall erupted with applause. Nobles who had doubted him bowed in respect. Even Lord Varen, the critic who had once scoffed at him, now inclined his head. Liam felt a mixture of disbelief and joy. He had dreamed of the stars, but never imagined he would stand here, accepted by one of the galaxy's greatest civilizations. The princess approaches after the ceremony. Arya led Liam to the Garden of Reflections, a floating platform above the city filled with light and soft, humming flowers. You did it, she said softly, her eyes glowing. You showed them and me what humans are capable of. Liam shook his head. I didn't do it alone. You guided me. You believed in me when everyone else doubted me. Arya smiled faintly. Belief is not enough without action. You chose to act. That is what makes you extraordinary. He looked at the floating flowers, their soft hum matching the rhythm of his heart. I still don't understand why you wanted me here at first, he admitted. Her gaze softened. I saw something in your eyes, something simple yet powerful. You felt without hesitation. You acted without fear. In that moment I knew I wanted to understand humans. And you, Liam felt warmth spread through him. I never expected this, not from anyone and certainly not from you. You expected nothing, she said, stepping closer. Yet you gave everything. That is why I chose you. A walk among the stars. That evening, Liam and Arya walked along the palace terrace overlooking the city. Lights shimmered below and stars stretched endlessly above. You have changed our empire, she said softly. People will speak of this day for generations. Not because of me, but because of you. He laughed lightly. Me? I just tried to do the right thing. Exactly, she said, her voice almost a whisper. Trying, caring, risking. Humans carry these things naturally. We Aelthari forget them or we hide them behind rules. You reminded us that life is not only about control and logic, it is about heart. Liam looked at her, humbled. I never thought anyone would see me like this. Not just as a human, but as someone important. You are important, she said simply. To me, to your world, and now to ours. You remind us of what we can be when we choose courage over fear and hope over doubt. For a long time they walked in silence. No words were needed. The stars reflected in their eyes, bridging two worlds through understanding and trust. The bond of two worlds. In the following days, Liam's role in the palace became more than a guest or observer. He advised on communications, helped solve logistical problems, and shared stories of Earth's ways, art, music, and simple human rituals. The nobles, initially skeptical, began to see the value in his ideas, but more importantly, he continued to teach Arya and her people what humans were capable of: empathy, spontaneity, and the strength that comes from imperfection. Arya herself grew more open, her cold composure softening as she learned to embrace emotion alongside logic. She laughed more freely, questioned more boldly, and even shared her own fears with Liam, something no Aelthari would have done before. In turn, Liam learned from her a world of order, discipline, and understanding that balanced his human impulsiveness. Together they became a symbol of collaboration, bridging differences and building trust between species. The promise of tomorrow one night. While gazing at Valeris's twin moons, Arya turned to Liam. You know, she said softly, when I first saw you, I did not understand why my heart, or curiosity, it drew me to you. Liam chuckled lightly. And now you do? I think I do, she admitted. You remind me that some things cannot be predicted or calculated. That is why I wanted you, not just for study, not just for curiosity, but because you are extraordinary. Liam looked at her, feeling a mixture of awe and gratitude. I never expected this, he said. I'm just a human from Earth. And yet, she said, her eyes shining, you have changed the course of our empire. You have proven that humans, even ordinary humans, are capable of greatness. That is why you are chosen. The word hung between them, simple yet full of meaning. Liam realized that he had not only proven himself, but had also earned a place in a world he never imagined. A new beginning, weeks later. A celebration was held in honor of the human who had captured the heart of a princess and the respect of an empire. The halls were filled with music, light, and laughter. Liam stood beside Arya as the king spoke. Today we recognize a human among us, not as a stranger, but as one of honor. Let this day remind all that courage, heart, and wisdom are not limited to one species. They are universal. Let humanity shine among the stars. Applause echoed throughout the palace. Liam felt the weight of the moment, but also the warmth of belonging. Arya took his hand gently. You did this, Liam, she said. Not I, you acted, risked, and cared. That is why I chose you. Liam smiled, a feeling of joy and wonder filling his chest. Then I choose to stay, he said simply. Here, with you, with your people, and with this world. For the first time, he felt completely at home. Not on Earth, not in the palace, but among the stars. Beside someone who saw him for who he truly was. The future was uncertain, filled with challenges and new experiences, but Liam no longer feared it. He had learned that humanity's heart, courage, and spirit were enough to shine anywhere, even among a galaxy of wonders. And as he looked at Princess Arya, glowing softly beside him, he knew one thing. Together, humans and Aelthari could face any challenge, for in the heart of a human, a spark existed, a spark that would light the path for worlds to come.